Annalee just gave me the green light. We have 3 council members. And, now we have 4. Great. Councilmember Mumm just joined us. So I'd like to go ahead and get approval of the minutes, if we could.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Right, minutes are approved. Thank you. Welcome to July 12th Public Safety, and we're going to start out with Sergeant Sparing. He's going to give us an update on the K-9 unit. Do you want to go ahead, Sergeant Sparing?
I do, and I hope you can hear me okay on the phone.
Perfect.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry for the call-in. So our June 2021 stats, we had 69 deployments in June, 20 people located, and 2 contacts. That actually brought our contact ratio up to 10%, which was higher than it has been for any month previously this year. It's still well below the federal standard. So when I find, even though that's well below the standard and not an anomaly, I still look into things like that. Both of those contacts were a result of K-9 call-outs, so they were outside of the handler's regular shift hours. Both call-outs were for felony, domestic violence, burglary incidents on suspects. So our training, apprehension was 53%, building search 25%, and tracking 18% of the time we spent on those things. Our year-to-date stats, we have 8 total contacts with an overall bite ratio of 5%, with 160 people located or apprehended by our dogs. So this, for the month of June, the contact goes, or the apprehension goes to Belitz and Zeus. They were up north with a male suspect inside his home who was armed with a .45 caliber pistol. There was probable cause to arrest that person for harassment, domestic violence, and unlawful possession of firearm first degree. He was also making suicide by cop type statements, so obviously a very dangerous situation. Officers were able to use our Bearcat to get the communication and K-9 team safely close enough to the house to be effective. They were able to then get communication with the suspect, who opened the front door. Officer Belitz was able at that point to provide commands from his location of cover to the suspect, and the suspect surrendered peacefully to police, specifically stating he did not want to get bit by Zeus, who was also giving him his own commands, barking. So it was pretty successful and nobody injured at all. And I am happy to take questions as always.
That's great. Good news. Thank you. Any questions for Sergeant Sparing? Okay, it's a quiet group. We're just getting back from vacation in the lake, I guess. So, Sergeant Sparing, thank you so much again for these updates. It's very helpful and has given us so much more information than we had before. So appreciate it. Thank you. We have Seth.
I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks. Seth Hackenberg is on, and we're going to talk about the female beds. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. To keep it pretty simple, what we want to do is we want to copy the respite bed program that we currently have ongoing for male individuals. When we originally launched the program, we had launched it assuming it would be available for both male and female. However, the location that we had partnered with, due to managerial changes outside of their control, are only ever hosting for men now. As soon as we heard about that, that was back in March, we immediately launched a new call for proposals with the idea that we want to be inclusive. We want to definitely have these resources available for men and women. The VOA Hope House was chosen after about a month of review of several proposals. And really, they're pretty much copying exactly what we wanted with the Catholic Charities position for the men. So generally speaking, there is a list of deliverables. I won't go over all of them, but the important things is food, hygiene, the ability to connect with mental health services, substance abuse services, culturally competent areas, Specifically in regards to our Native American population, we want to make sure we have groups and individuals that work with them and understand it's a different culture. And then also, again, just in general, we want to make sure that we're inclusive to both sides, and this was really just copying the male version. A little bit cheaper at VOA. I think the male beds were about $31,000 a year. These are around $30,000. And then the idea behind this is it's an extension of our pilot program. We are doing data tracking to see how many people come into the program, what's the result as far as linking up with treatment and getting housed and all that. And the idea is that if this program is deemed successful, we're going to hopefully expand it into a little bit of a larger program to encompass more individuals. But this would, again, be just kind of an extension of the pilot program. It would be a one-year program, 24 hours, 7-day-a-week bed, and the idea being that we could funnel them out of jail or perhaps off the street into these respite beds so they have a safe place to wait while they transition either into other housing, long-term substance abuse programs, long-term mental health programs. This is sort of that in-between type step.
Wonderful. Any questions from council? Go ahead, Councilmember Stratton.
I just want to echo Councilmember Kinnear. This is wonderful, and I appreciate the point you made about data collecting. That's going to be really important so we know what kind of progress we're making and if we're making any progress. So I appreciate this very, very much, and I hope that we can get some updates along the way so we know how it's going. So, Mr. Hattenberg, could you make a note of perhaps checking in with us? Maybe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 3 months or whatever interval you feel would be beneficial for us to get an update. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely do that, and I can provide, the updated statistics and all that as far as our numbers and where everyone is and everything. But yeah, I could definitely do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Councilmember Kinnear?
Go ahead.
Seth, could you tell us or remind me of how many beds that are being allocated for this program?
Yes, because it's a pilot program, currently we will have 1 male bed and 1 female bed. The idea is that if it does well, we would expand it. Our hope is to have, a couple beds available for everyone, but right now it's just 1 for each gender.
Okay. Anybody else? Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and that information.
Thank you, everyone.
We're excited.
And I also just want to mention, I have to log off a little early from the meeting. I apologize. I have another meeting with the Center for Court Innovation in a few minutes. So.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Sarah, you are up next, and you're going to just give us a 5-minute update. There's so much happening right now, and I know 5 minutes doesn't seem like very much time, so especially with our questions, but go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. This one shouldn't be too much, but there is always opportunity for discussion. So I'm here just to discuss my recommendation that I made to the city administrator and that I'm making to you folks to re-engage in the Joint Emergency Management Organization through the county. Basically, for emergency management, based on RCW and WAC regulations, entities, jurisdictions are required to be a part of a Joint Emergency Management Organization or to establish their own. To establish your own, you have to pass it through resolution. You have to have general fund dollars allocated. You have to meet certain requirements that, unfortunately, the city of Spokane has not demonstrated that they're ready to do yet, based on my evaluation in this position for the last year. So in order to try and make sure that we are covered and that we are providing the best service for our citizens and making sure that during and following disasters, we are able to provide response and planning capabilities, this is, one of the options that was put forward was to re-engage in that county ILA for the next 3 years. Of which we can, negotiate each year what that looks like, participating so that we have support from the county so that we can support the county and so that we all work together for emergency management. I don't think I need to go over the cost or anything, do I? That's the general high level of where we're at, so I'll pause now for questions.
Questions for Sarah? Wow, we are quiet.
Do I get to call on her?
Go ahead.
I think it's Councilmember Mum. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
We, of course, had the extreme heat emergency this summer, and we just wanted to check, if we are participating with the county, is there anything we could put in there about proportional use or share of costs? I say that because during the heat emergency, when I questioned how the county was participating, I was directed to the health department website they said, well, we're not doing anything directly. We're leaning on the nonprofits to do that. But when I looked at the health department website, it was the city of Spokane, the city of the Valley, and I believe a Liberty Lake and maybe one other city who had stepped up for heat emergencies, but the county had not. And they were relying on nonprofits that are inside the city of Spokane. So I hear what you're saying that, well, we want to participate in the county, but at least in the case of the heat emergency, didn't seem like they were doing anything. So can we put at least...
Good question. Yeah, that's really loaded. The ILA is not really up for edit. No, you're great. You're great. I can give you my 2 cents.
May I just add one other piece of data? I mean, it was in such a case that Avista, this was reported at a public meeting, was paying STA to shuttle county residents into the city.
Yeah.
So there's a cost to taxpayers. So
absolutely. So 2 things here. Thing number 1, the requirement to offer cooling space is something that we set as a city through you folks at council. So the county is not required to do that. However, the county and the way that emergency management works is emergency management will step in when lower jurisdictions have met their capacity and their resources. So during that incident, the way that our local jurisdiction worked, we were able to meet the need of the community, so I didn't need to kick up a request to the county for support. The transportation thing through Avista was actually initiated through me originally. I reached out to SEA, and then it eventually got back. Lisa was the one that made it happen, but we did start those discussions early. So the county did do their duty in this way, but it's not part of their legal requirements, and it didn't escalate to a need in which we were not able to meet the cooling space sheltering need. So that's why they did not participate.
So they did participate, but they used our resources. So what I'm suggesting is maybe there's a way in our agreement, if we are going to do an ILA, that if they are shuttling county citizens to use city resources, that there's some sort of pro rata share of cost.
Okay, I will talk to the county about that and see what we can get going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mum. That's a good point. And we all need that answer because this is not a one-off. It's going to happen again. Any other questions for Sarah? Before we turn her loose? Go ahead, Councilmember Wilkerson.
And so, Sarah, just remind me, we selected to withdraw from that after they'd been stood down for COVID, or we felt there's one a partnership. What will be different going back in, or is it just meeting the state requirements that would be part of?
Yeah, so the withdrawal from the ILA was actually done previous to me arriving. That was not done during COVID. That was done in 2019. And I can't speak to why that was done. You know, just different expectations, things not being met, people being unhappy on both ends. All I know moving forward is that this new ILA has been updated with the request that I had coming in, which was that we needed more quantifiable proof of engagement instead of just, you know, being part of an organization but not knowing what we're getting back, if you will. So there were several quantifiable and, you know, measurable things that were put into that ILA so that we, as a city, can ensure that we are getting a resource support and sharing from our county counterparts, and also put in some requirements for us that we show up to exercises, that we agree to participate. It's a more thorough ILA that actually requires participation documented by both parties so that we can move forward to better support our community. So the difference might not be largely palpable to the community, but as far as emergency management goes and the annual and quarterly reports that all put together, we'll be able to see what we're getting and how we are helping our partners in cooperation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, good. Sarah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Of course, you know where to reach me if we want to talk more offline.
Absolutely do know where to reach you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Dahl, you're going to be speaking about an FTE increase, and what else do I have you down for? Fee study increase and FTE increase. You want to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. And then I think I'm down for a second one if you want to tackle that after, and that's the adoption of the full wildland urban interface code, the few sections that the state didn't adopt.
Just go right into that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So we kind of already had meetings, I think, with a council study session, so almost everybody here hopefully should be aware of what we're asking. We have not had a fee increase in fire department permit-related fees or construction-related fees or plan review fees since 2008, 2009. That's left the division with a serious shortfall. Prior to that, in our budget years of 2004 and 2005, when the fire department had layoffs, we lost 30% of our inspection staffing. So I lost 2 inspectors and a assistant fire marshal. So basically 3 people that did inspection work. And since 2005, we've added over 20 million square feet of commercial building space, just on the commercial side of the building. And so we're not getting our inspections done to meet the national standard. With the Washington State Survey and Rating Bureau coming in again this fall, they made suggestions almost 3 years ago on areas that we should change and improve upon, and that includes inspection staffing, the number of inspections the buildings were not getting into on an annual, biannual, or triannual basis. So the fees would help cover and offset the new FTE requirements, the new full-time position requirements. On inspection staff, on a second fire protection engineer in training to help take off the load of the fire protection engineer, to help get our plan review process done on a quicker basis and not hold up construction projects within. Any questions on the documents I provided from the council study session or this session?
Councilmember Cathcart, did you have a question?
Not today. I mean, I do have some concerns and questions, but I'm going to be meeting with Chief Schaefer to discuss those.
Okay. So I just want to add that this ties in to, and Councilmember Mom and I attended a meeting, it was a while back, but this ties into insurance rates eventually. So this is a bottom line for our citizens, and it means that if we can get the number of inspectors up and increase inspections, that the insurance rates theoretically would go down for our citizens, or at least not go up at such a rapid rate. So go ahead, Councilmember Mom.
It's not, just homeowners. This is also for building owners. So
Yes.
that is insurance is a big expense. And ratings agencies have gotten very specific. The folks in the fire know this. It used to be more by zip code, and now they're really paying attention. When you look at our map, and our growth patterns, this is an increasing problem. And I've been working with the fire department on this or aware of it for about 5 years, and I completely support this.
Go ahead, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I guess on that point, I mean, I would say the Inlander did a piece on this about 5 years ago on a very similar benefit charge, and they debunked the idea that it's going to help insurance rates. So I think we can argue about the benefit of the FTEs, but I'm not sure if the insurance piece is accurate or not.
This is not benefit charge, and there was no debunking, and this is done all over the country, and our rates are far behind, and we need to get caught up. So I'm not going to use the Inlander 5 years ago to make a decision.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Dahl.
Okay, so the other part of that today is the Wildland Urban Interface Code. So Washington State adopted the Wildland Urban Interface Code the last code cycle. But they left out a couple pieces of that code that really kind of not necessarily cripple the fire department, but they really make it harder on citizens trying to build, on how we evaluate that wildland urban interface property area, and the requirements that they may or may not have to meet when they're building in those areas. So by adopting those sections we're missing on water supply and on fire department access, that ensures that we also, as a fire department, and are responding to those areas, that we have some water issues, right, that we need to look at. And actually the WUI code, right now, today, I have to apply the fire department, the International Fire Code, when we look at building access and that. The WUI code actually lengthens the distance to a hydrant. So it makes it a little easier in those areas of town that we have annexed but not have provided water services to. For example, I had somebody come in last week. They want to build they want to turn their garage into an accessory dwelling unit. They're trying to make a shower and an accessible area for a wheelchair person, but they aren't within that 500 to 600 feet of a hydrant that the International Fire Code requires. They are in a wildland urban interface, and we can adjust that out to 1,000 feet under the new code. So there are some things in the new code that actually make it easier to build, but then it also takes into effect other things, building materials and good access for our trucks in those areas.
Questions from council? Anybody? Okay. Good information. Thank you so much. All right, Councilmember Stratton, you are up next. Do you want to start us off with the NRO update? I'm not sure who on police is going to be responding.
I'm hoping there's somebody there that can answer the question. This is pretty short. We have heard on the north side that there are 2 of the north side NROs that are promoting up and out of the NRO, if I'm correct, out of those positions. So my question is, I've had a couple folks ask, how are we replacing them, and how's that going to work? What's the timeline? Can anybody answer that?
Sure, I'll start and then ask Major Olson to wait if he has other details. So when we set up this homeless outreach team, we assigned 4 bodies to it so we can have 2 officers working at any time, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Let me just give you a little bit of background too. Right now with retirements, with officers on probation, with officers that just graduated from the academy, and with vacancies that we currently have with SPD right now, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 positions on the books right now that we can't use. And again, that's because of vacancies, that's because of probation, that's because of folks that are retiring out they're using vacation before they retire out. Our staffing numbers are such where I've actually told patrol that if we need to go to 3 shifts instead of 4 to beef up our patrol teams, give me a heads up on that. We want to at least give the officers a month or so they can make family arrangements. So while the numbers that were authorized are looking good, the reality is with retirements and vacationing out and vacancies, we're struggling to even keep our patrol teams filled where they're at. So when we established this homeless outreach team, we want to try to minimize the number of officers that we're taking from patrol. So we took 1 NRO from the north side. They had 6 NROs north, 3 NROs south. So we took 1 from the north side to help with that homeless outreach team. One NRO is off on jury right now. And as far as promotions, we have to keep our patrol staffed first. That's our first priority. So we're trying to hire as quickly as we can. We're trying to get more laterals. Typically, we can use a lateral within about 3 months. When you hire a brand new entry-level officer with a 5.5 month academy with a post academy, and then 4.5 months of FTO, you're almost at about a year until you can use a newly hired entry-level officer versus 3 months. So we're doing what we can to hire laterals as well. But to get to your question, Councilwoman Stratton, we want to fill them as quickly as we can. They deal with a lot of the long-term issues. Patrol officers, tend to be call-driven. What we need in the neighborhoods is an NRO that can actually spend some time dealing with the ongoing issues that tend to be more complex and more involved. So they're an important part of our response and our community engagement, but we do need to have the bodies to respond to the 911 calls. So we're still wanting to wait and see. We have some more speculation of more folks that are going to retire. Some people are pretty open about it. Some people keep their cards pretty close to their chest. So we won't know probably for another month or 2 what the rest of the year is going to look like. And if it's as bad as we fear it could be, and again, a lot of folks aren't going to reveal when they're going to retire, then we may actually end up having to go to 3 shifts on patrol. Just gives you kind of a foundation of where we're at right now for staffing.
Councilmember Stratton, does that answer your question? Do you want Major Olson to?
Major Olson, can you add? The thing that concerns me the most is how we communicate out to the neighborhoods that there may be some shifting in, because the 2 that I've heard are very beloved NROs, in our neighborhoods. And so I just want to be assured that there's some kind of communication out there to let those neighborhoods know what's going on, and that, you know, there's planning for more down the road, or for replacements down the road. But I just think it's important the neighborhood knows what's going on with those positions.
So first off, I will say that the chief nailed it on the staff count. There are 6 spots north, 3 south. Right now, the north side is down 1 where Dale Wells did get promoted. So, I mean, congratulations to him, to corporal. We haven't backfilled just due to shortage on patrol, as he said. And one of our other NROs is injured, maybe back light duty in the office, but of course that's fairly limiting what she can accomplish working just, you know, via phone or walk-ins. We are, obviously those positions, we don't want to have them go away. We like to backfill them when we can. We're just waiting for the bodies to be trained and through the process, like the chief said. As far as communicating with the neighborhoods, if it hasn't occurred, I'll have a conversation with Captain Griffiths. I know he can do this. Just make sure that we are making appearances at those neighborhoods where the NROs are assigned that are either out for a bit or even light duty. The one that's vacant, they're actually going to be splitting up those duties amongst the other NROs so that the area doesn't just go unaddressed. They're actually going to try to share some of that work and spread it across. But I use the analogy, there's only so much peanut butter. You can spread it one way or the other, but that's all you get. So we're going to try to spread that across the bread they can to make sure that the urgent matters are addressed. But I'll make sure that, ensure that Captain Griffiths has those conversations with those leadership members at those neighborhoods. That way they're aware of the status.
I think that would be great. I think just kind of letting them, and I know, and Councilmember Mom, I don't know, we've been going to neighborhood council meetings, so maybe we can invite Griffiths to those meetings just to kind of give that, especially the meetings that are involved, that the neighborhoods are involved with that NRO. I just think to let them know and that there is a plan in place, and I think that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, SPD is always a top draw at our neighborhood meetings, so neighborhood meetings really enjoy having them there. Many of them are on a break in the summer, so you know we'll really feel it in September. Councilmember
Wilkerson, go ahead.
So my concern is what is the coordination between the Office of Neighborhood Services and the Spokane Police Department as they kind of oversee that? So is there communication increasing or just ongoing between those two entities to serve the needs of our neighborhoods?
The communication is open, I mean, between us and neighborhood services as far as letting them know. We need to, I don't know if they were notified of the injury, but if we need to, you know, kind of make someone aware of that, we can do that because it will impact service delivery. Obviously, if the NRO isn't able to work on the streets, it will hinder her progress. So I can share that across with that office.
Yeah, I think if we could especially share that with Carly Courtwright, and then she can help get the message out to everybody else in the office, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Other questions from council? All right, good. Thank you. Karen, you're up again with the SBO for cops. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I hope that you looked at the information in your packets, and this is a important issue that we're dealing with right now. Patrick Stryker and his team are here with us. I'm going to have him talk give us a brief background on the issue and a little bit about what these two positions do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. I've got Tracy Ponto and Lynette Hendrickson with me today. They are two crime victim advocates, and I think you guys know these positions. They work with people who've been victimized by crime and help them get whatever resources, assistance, whatever it is they may need. They are a grant-funded position through the state. The state changed up how they did it this year, and we did not get their grant. But these two positions are so critical that until we can get that grant again, I reached out to the city to say, can we keep these two positions going because they do so much for our victims, and working with people that, really need a lot of assistance. Some crimes, obviously, we know are simple and can be dealt with a little more simply, but some of our crimes really need someone to take that victim by the hand and help them get resolution, and that's what these do.
So, Patrick, I saw firsthand how well the team did with someone that called me and needed help. So I appreciate that. And I think it extends the police's ability to do other things. So takes that load off of them when you can. And I know that the people that you have doing it are experts in their field and are really doing a good job for the people who have been victimized. So thank you.
I just wanted to, Patrick, can you talk a little bit about these positions during COVID and the connections? I know you provided some numbers in the briefing paper, but just a little bit about what happened to these positions during COVID.
Do you want to address that? Okay. So during COVID, we used these positions for a lot of different things, not only helping people who needed assistance that couldn't get out, especially during quarantine, people that needed food, needed medical things, we were using them for that. But in particular, the Congress had reached out to me back a few months ago, and I thought that was a great honor at the United States Congress that said, could you speak to us about what you guys are seeing for your victim advocates in terms of COVID and how this is relating, how the pandemic is relating to more crime, which creates these horrible situations. And so Tracy Ponto spoke to the Department of Energy and Commerce about what we've seen the past year and the connection between the pandemic that's creating kind of a perfect storm of issues for victims, particularly as people are buying things more online and not going into stores. Businesses operate, via Zoom and WebEx and stuff, and not as much in person, and so much more computer-related scams and frauds that people were able to take advantage of during COVID, which created a lot more victims this past year. I know our two victim advocates reached out to several thousand people last year, everything from quick phone calls of some quick information, getting into the list that NROs are not able to, victims they don't have time to get back to. Our crime victim advocates reach out to them, again, whether it's those quick phone calls of some reassurance and quick information, all the way up to taking people by the hands that needed help with identity theft or protection orders and things like that these two are able to do.
And I wanted to thank all of you because I know this has been a huge, huge issue, especially with our senior populations throughout the city who are doing more online or trying to do more online and are getting caught up in some of those scams. I've heard of some of them and also phone scams as well. So it's been really nice to have a way to connect them to your office to get them information and resources. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, they do good work.
So I want to make sure there are no other questions by council. Does anybody else want to add anything or questions? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Stratton.
So what we would like to do is to bring this forward as an SBO. We would like those two positions to be funded for the next 2 years, which is what the grant would have done. So we can keep those positions in place, that we can keep that good work going on in our neighborhoods, and also that they will be picking up some more work in graffiti abatement and some other issues that they've talked about. So this will be coming before council tonight, I believe. Brian McClatchy, are you out there?
I am here.
And we are going to work to get this on the agenda tonight, correct?
It could be added to the agenda under a suspension of the rules. I don't believe it's on the agenda, but we can.
Right. So if anybody has any questions after this meeting, let us know.
Councilmember Mumm has a question right now.
I think it's more of a technicality. Of course, this is critically needed. We need to do this. And thank you for bringing it forward. I think we may need to check onto whether we have to do a competitive process, whether we use city funds or ARP funds. I don't think we can just do a direct. I may want to check with Tanya unless you've heard from her already.
So we have been doing that work. And Brian, I'm sorry I got the note late. Can you go through what you sent me just a few minutes ago? Under the ARP, what can be funded?
Sure, but I'm not sure if it's responsive to Councilmember Mumm's question about competitive procurement. The ARP does have pretty broad categories of availability of use of funds by the city, and one of those is support of nonprofits that are helping to respond to and mitigate to the public health and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. So both under the statute and the implementing regulations, and I apologize, but you will get a memo from me summarizing these before you start acting. Support for nonprofits like this particular request are within the eligible uses of funds. As far as competitive procurement, that is something I'm going to have to talk to Sally Stouffer about. I don't think it's going to be a hurdle, but it's an excellent question, and I'll check with her.
Yeah, whether it's ARP or wherever it comes, it makes sense, and I'm sure they qualify for it. And we want to get this done. I just want to make sure that it's tied up in a bow. So thanks.
And I should have mentioned the grant ran out the end of June, and so when we worked with the COPS program, they could manage until the end of July. So that's they could use some of their funding until the end of July. So that is why we wanted to get this on as soon as possible to help them out.
Councilmember Stratton, maybe we could do a patch under 50,000 so it wouldn't trigger the competitiveness until we get this sorted out. I want to make sure we don't, have a gap.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for bringing that up, Councilmember Munn. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Good. Thank you, Mr. Slicker and your team. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Next one is mine, and it's the cold case update, and I'm not sure who's going to be briefing that.
Hi, Council. It's Mike McNabb. I can touch on that a little bit. We don't have a huge update for as far as setting up a new unit for cold case investigations beyond what I briefed, I think, a couple months ago to Council. We are renewing what they call the SAK3 grant, which is a sexual assault kit grant. The work we're doing with the sergeant and detective back here doing that work nearly full time. We've extended for another year, and that'll be on advanced agenda today.
Questions from council? And thank you. This is important not just to the community, but actually people that work for the city, who work for the city. So I think we're all anxious to see something move forward, and please keep us in the loop. And if you do need something from us, please let us know.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same message that the chief had mentioned earlier about staffing. It's just a matter of having the people that could do the work and being able to backfill them without shorting patrol on numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Any questions, council? Right. Good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Next up, Councilmember Mumm, this is your request about reimbursement for, I believe it was, is it $18,000 for food items? Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, this came up at one of our council meetings a couple of weeks ago, and we got the the detail on it and trying to understand the policy. Obviously, it was extreme circumstances, but we have pretty strict policies on providing food and beverage for other than employees in certain circumstances. So I don't know who wants to take it, but there was a catering bill for 600 people or meals, and another one for 400, and I think that exceeds our force. So maybe someone can bring us up to speed.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So we have mutual aid agreements with basically the whole state. Compliments of WASPIC taking the lead on that effort. We also have a mutual aid agreement with Kootenai County to provide assistance. We'll provide assistance if they need it. They'll provide assistance if we need it. So just going over the numbers of during the incident that occurred May 31st and the subsequent months that followed. Number one, I need to back up and say that when the National Guard is called in, part of the requirement is that food and shelter is provided for them as well. So I'm just going to go through these numbers real quick, and I'm happy to go back if there's more detailed questions on those. But on the 31st of May, we had 114 National Guard respond. In addition, we had 4 to 6 members of the wing senior leadership, and then 2 members that were leadership for the security forces as well. So that 114 is more like 120 on the 31st of May. June 1st was the same number, 114 plus the support staff. June 2nd was 16, the 3rd was 16, the 4th was 21, the 5th was 19, and then June 6th we had 123 National Guardsmen, the 7th we had 132, and the 8th we had 118. When it comes to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office as well as jail detention, the Sheriff's Office spent about $500,000 in overtime to help protect the downtown and the campus here as well during that time frame as well with all their staffing. Jail detention services also spent about $50,000 to help us keep the downtown secure as well as the campus. That does not include Kootenai County, and that does not include Tri-Cities. So with the mutual aid, when we invited these folks or asked them to come in and help us keep the downtown secure as well as the campus, part of our obligations to provide them food and water as well. So we used that money out of our operations budget. They weren't in a position to be able to leave the site. So that was our obligation to make sure that we could have them available and remaining in the area as well.
We can't hear you, Councilmember Mumm.
Sorry. So that was provided to just members of law enforcement, not to the public or to some other kind of event?
That's correct.
And is the policy for that clear? That's one of the things we were looking for. That looks like there was a lot of back and forth with the accountants on this.
So in talking with legal as well as our accountants, with the mutual aid agreements, when they come into our area and they're assisting the city of Spokane, if you go to the policy 5.0 policy, 5.1 non-travel meals, then 5.1.1 subsection C's says meals for employees engaged at emergency scenes where the employees are directed to not leave their post by the department director. So to me, I don't know, I guess it could be semantics whether they're employees of ours or not, but we definitely know that they're assisting us with keeping the downtown safe and secure as well as the campus. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but under mutual aid, they're falling under our umbrella and our operations. So they report to our command post.
That may be something you might want to review, because just looking on the face of it, I could see how it could be interpreted, well, they're not our employees. So you may want to take a look at that and see if you want to make it more clear.
Yeah, and if you get those questions, I'm happy to have you refer them to me and explain to them that, when you look at just the overtime is $500,000 from the county. Again, that does not include National Guard, Kootenai County, Tri-Cities, Cheney actually sent some assistance as well. So that does not also include those who are on duty. So, I think when we look at the events of last summer, we had other entities that were not City of Spokane providing over $1 million in employees' salary and benefits to keep the city and the public safety campus safe. So I'm happy talking to any of those folks and explaining to them that to us, providing them food and water so they can stay in the area was definitely very reasonable. And then as far as the employees not being able to leave emergency scenes, again, they're falling under our umbrella. So we really appreciate the fact that they were willing to come and help, and they stayed with us throughout the summer as well.
I'll see if anybody else wants to. I will just say, based on what I saw in the emails back and forth, I'm not sure that the staff was completely clear either. So I'm putting a little pin on that. That might be something to clean up.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments from council or questions? Excuse me. All right. Let's go on. The next one's mine, and this is just a brief update from somebody about what's our plan to get the downtown precinct open It hasn't been open for some months now, and I know there's a staffing issue. I did try and help out with that by working with STA for parking for volunteers to come in and be there so that community members could go into the downtown precinct. And that did not work out, so we're back to square one. I think it's important because we did promise that we'd have a downtown precinct and make it available and pilot the community policing program downtown. I think it's important that the precinct actually be open to the public so that people could go in there if they needed help off the street, whatever it is. It's not available. So I'd love to have just a quick, what's your plan, so that we can tell people what to expect downtown. So who's going to be the person who will talk about that?
Well, I'll start. My understanding was that we were moving forward with cops volunteers until we got staffing. My assumption was several weeks ago when you were able to help facilitate the parking spots, that was moving forward. So this is news to me.
So I can jump in here, Chief, if you'd like. Just so you know, the precinct is open. We are staffing a officer. We pulled one in, so there is an officer working that desk during business hours, Monday through Friday. So it's open. It has been open now for weeks. As far as the cops volunteers, there was a number of volunteers that went down and looked at the facilities at STA and the parking spots and how they would have to move from there over to the cop shops and some of the issues that surround that, as well as trying to think of how you'd say this, certifying their badge access to places and what that jumps through. There's some legal hindrances to give them access to a police facility, so we're trying to work our way through that as well. But I know that there is at least one cops volunteer still willing to pursue that. I know there's been talk about trying to find some street parking for the volunteers to make it so that they're closer. Again, we're trying to reserve the two. There's only 2 spots out there right now for police vehicles, and those are so officers can go in but also be able to quickly respond to calls. They need to have their cars close. So we're working through the logistics of that and seeing how we can supplement the staff of the downtown precinct to make it have more availability and to free up the officers to get back out onto the patrol of the downtown area. But right now it is currently and has been staffed for quite some time.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, when I tried the door, I was down there, it was 10:30 or whatever in the morning. Everything was locked up. Other people have had the same experience. So when I say open, I mean I can either get buzzed in, I can ring a doorbell, I can open a door as a citizen and go in there. And that was not the case. So
And was that recently, council member?
That was, Jacoby, was that 2 months ago? I think it was about 2 months ago.
Right, and subsequent to that, we like I said, pulled up one of we are ensuring that the staffing is there during business hours every day of the week now.
Okay. Okay, well, that's good news then. And if there's anything else that you need for us to do in terms of getting volunteers, I know that Patrick Stryker has offered to go to Riverside Neighborhood Council and see if he can get a few others that would be willing, because they already live down there. And the trick, I guess, is, people work during the day, so you're usually relying on retired folks to staff, and they already are in the neighborhoods. They're probably not willing to come downtown and park and do all the things that they need to do. So I think that was part of the problem, just getting that up and running. And I'm hopeful that perhaps Patrick can talk one other person. The person that, Major Olson, the person that is going to volunteer does live downtown, so that's helpful. And I'm hoping that Patrick can find a few others who might be willing to do that as well, because I think that would be a good synergy for that downtown precinct. Does anybody else have questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Wilkerson.
Thank you. And thank you, Eric, about that. So my concern is, as we look at neighborhood policing models, will this continue to be a challenge that the neighborhoods or the people won't have access to the police station? I think many of us thought when the downtown precinct was going to be open that people could engage and build a relationship with our police officers, i.e. walking up to the door, getting buzzed in with a concern, or walking away. So now we are almost completing a year, and we have the same challenges. And COVID aside, I'm just concerned how we're going to continue to address this challenge as we go forward. If citizens can engage with the police at that location, where will they be able to engage with them going forward? So that's just my concern, whether it's downtown, East Central, Hilliard, West Central. What will that look like, and how do we need to change that model to make it more citizen-friendly?
I can, again, just assure you that, like, the downtown precinct is staffed. So if you go down there during business hours, you can buzz on the door and you will be contacted by a police officer. That has been made a priority for us for that interaction with the community and for the ability for the community members to walk in and have a face-to-face interaction with the officers.
Go ahead, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, so are the officers then still, I mean, is there a priority to be out on foot, on bike, in the downtown core, communicating with folks, engaging with business owners, tourists, people who are just passing by? Is that still the priority then?
Well, we have assigned one officer to be at the desk, and then the remaining NROs are split up on days and different shifts so that they can be out on patrol. So, yes, the priority is for them to still be out there, and was, you know, them being on bicycles now is helping them to be able to do that.
Okay.
And I would add that I did see a picture of the 10 e-bikes. They're lined up in the basement, yay. I think there's some confusion. Councilmember Mumm, we're going to have to fix this. There's some confusion about who paid. And I believe that the council offered to pay, but it came out of Major Singley's budget. So we're going to have to remedy that. Yes, that's what I was told. So, and I don't know, we're going to have to dig deeper because we offered, so we want to make sure that they get what we offered.
And they got a much better deal and more bikes, so
They did.
we'll figure it out.
Yes, we will. So thank you. Any other questions from council? Alrighty, the last one is mine as well, and that's Chief Schaefer. You're going to give us an update on wildfire season and all the good work that you've been doing keeping us safe.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity just to speak really briefly. I'll mention first that, you know, as of today, there are 1,700 fires across the state of Washington, which is pretty outstanding when you look at just the activity that we've had thus far. 27 new fires over the weekend. There's 2 large incidents, actually 4 large incidents in the state of Washington, with a total of 67,000 acres of growth on those existing incidents. We talked before at length about the city's vulnerability when it comes to wildland-urban interface fires that came to fruition again yesterday. As many of you are aware that we had the 2 interface fires. Can you see those pictures? Okay. And there should be 2 pictures up there, but I can't.
Yeah, we see them.
The Summit and Linda Key human-caused fire at the lower third of the hillside. It's a pretty dramatic hillside full of timber, but that second photo, which you can really take in perspective, is the fact that you know, we live in an urban forest, and this fire, if it would behave, if we didn't have the resource that we had, it would certainly have went on to move into that neighborhood and completely decimate that neighborhood like we've seen across the Pacific Northwest in places like Malden or in California like Paradise. So I just wanted to share that we are, as a national area and as a geographical area preparedness level 4, which is one from the very worst situation that we could be in, which we were in 2015. PL5, preparedness level 5, is essentially saying that there are no more resources in the system. You know, that was the year that we had the exceptional assistance from Canada, Australia. Actually, we had Australian Fire Service here in Spokane, if you remember that year. So we're dangerously close. The fuel models are certainly aligning worse than they have been in a long time, and we're doing everything we can to prepare for that. I appreciate the support with the WOOD code and with the quick purchase of 2 additional brushed engines to replace the nearly 20-year-old engines that we have. That was just completely an opportunity that fortunately we're flexible and innovative enough to take advantage of, and we'll certainly put those to work as soon as they hit Spokane. So I know Councilmember Munn's got her hand up, so I'll entertain any questions or see if I can fill in the blanks.
Go ahead.
Well, the human-caused things are disturbing, but we know they happen. But I'm thinking about all our citizens to protect, you know, their areas. Are we able to beef up an education program because of the threat? I've seen some information out there, but is there something else we can do to get people to really be prepared and make their place safer?
We're trying, and I know Sarah Nuss is still on the phone. She's been working with us really in tandem with our partners in media as recently as yesterday with KHQ, because I think the question, or I guess the philosophy that we've been trying to share with the community is this idea of ready, set, go. It correlates with level 1, 2, and 3 evacuations. And it doesn't matter if it's wildland fire or if it's natural gas or chemical leak or another type of natural disaster. It's important for everybody to share in the responsibility of being ready and being prepared. I know, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the folks that live right off of Division and Euclid would have never imagined that they would have been in a level 3 evacuation area. Craig's officers actually went door to door in that neighborhood and performed a level 3 evacuation, which is in the law enforcement's discipline when it comes to our evacuation plan. And they did that quickly, and, you know, in those situations, many of the people ended up moving over to the command post, and they were just so surprised that they had to leave so fast because that fire obviously burned into the homes on that hillside really quickly. We were fortunate to limit that damage, but we did have a lot of damaged structures. So I appreciate your concern, and we'll make that a priority for the media campaign talking about this level of preparedness for all disasters.
And just to follow up, I thank you for, you know, talking about the evac, but I'm also talking about just taking care of your own property. Trees, you know, we remember the Avista fire, those of us who were here decades ago. Look at your property. Are your trees growing into the power lines? You know, other things that we could just really push that back out again to how to prepare your land to keep it from, you know, catching from wildfire.
We're trying to do that, and I think there's going to be a lot more emphasis from us at DNR and the Coalition of Fire Prevention folks that we have in Spokane County.
Councilmember Cathcart, do you have a question? Councilmember Cathcart? Okay, he appears to be frozen. Okay, that didn't work out too well.
You
I don't know if you can hear me.
Because his internet is sketchy. There he is.
Okay. We can't
It's all
hear
frozen. You can move on. I can follow up later.
Okay, now we can hear you. Go ahead. Nope. Nothing. Okay, so I just wanted to ask Chief Schaefer, about 2 or 3 years ago, Council President and I did a video on how to protect your property around wildfires. So Channel 5 has that in their archives somewhere, and it could be trotted out and used again. We haven't gotten that much older, so
We've still got that. We've cut pieces of it on every individual council member that's still here, and we're still using it, at least on social media. So it was pretty stunning last time.
So there's that, and there could be other things that we as council members could do to inform people as well. So if you need to tap us to help you get the word out, please do so. Councilmember Cathcart, you want to try again?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet. I was just wondering about any partnerships we have with DNR and Firewise and that education campaign.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we are still participating in the Firewise program. We've got a number of neighborhoods. I think the fire marshal's here. I think we have 2 neighborhoods that are
possibly 3.
Yeah, two to 3 neighborhoods that are Firewise, that are identified as National Firewise credentialed communities. That has been a priority of us for a long time, and most recently our integration with DNR and doing those home surveys has been really successful, and they're continuing. But now we're knee deep in fire season. Many of us didn't get home until 11 o'clock last night from one that was here locally, and many others that are regional that we're sending resources to. So our focus is really going to be in operations right now, just because of the tempo of the need out in the field. But it's still on our landscape, and I know with the additional resources in fire prevention that there's going to be a focus on the philosophy of community risk reduction, which involves pointed action at risk, so that our people in operations don't have to put themselves at risk for a preventable issue, and that's really where we want to be.
Gotcha. Thanks, Chief, and thank you for all you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks.
And I would just add that we are going to get the goats back again this, I think, September, August, I can't remember which. So that is a resource. I know people are tired of hearing about goats, but that is a resource that we should continue to explore and use, because they have to eat, and they might as well eat stuff that's going to burn later. So I want to continue to push that and fund that program. Thank you, Chief, and please stay safe. We appreciate all that you do, and let your folks know that we appreciate them, and for them to stay safe as well.
Thank you, everybody.
That's the end of our agenda. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order, or anything that they want to be put on next month's agenda? You can always, you know where to find me, so you can email me later. Appreciate everybody coming today, and our next meeting is sometime in August. I have no idea. Let's look.
August 2nd.
2nd. Perfect. Okay. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you at the next meeting at 1:50. Thanks very much.